Well, it has been the hardest for women in Afghanistan. There has been considerable steps backwards for women's rights. The Islamic State has been steadily yet consistently increasing their restriction on women since they took power. They know the women no longer have the right to work in most of the public sector or for NGOs. The private companies don't tend to hire them, being afraid of the backlash from the Taliban. Only a month ago, we saw the Taliban even banning beauty salons for women. That was the only exclusively female led sector in the country, and it effectively unemployed 60,000 women. The biggest setback for the women has come in the education sector, where girls are forbidden to receive formal education from middle school onwards. They cannot go to universities, colleges, or even high school. On top of all of this, they cannot access public parks, and just to go in public, they must wear a full veil and be accompanied by a male member of the family on long distance journeys. We talked with one 14-year-old girl in Kabul yesterday, and she said that we are no longer happy. We have already lost everything in our lives. She dreamed of becoming a surgeon, and she has already lost 2 years of education, and her future remains uncertain. It's not only the women, but human rights defenders, civil society activists, minorities are also victim of harassment and threats. Human rights organizations such as Amnesty International regularly reports cases of persecution, arbitrary arrests, torture, and extrajudicial execution. All dissident voices are muzzled. According to Human Rights Watch, it's a human rights nightmare. Media coverage of the country has also become very complicated and dangerous. Local media and local journalists face numerous pressures and repercussions. 80% of journalists have given up their work in the last 2 years, and this is an estimate by Reporters Without Borders. And for foreign journalists, it has also become very complicated to obtain the necessary authorizations to be able to go there and report from inside Afghanistan.
Now, the Taliban has nonetheless, despite all of that, Shahzaib, managed to keep the country's struggling economy afloat. So, what economic or even administrative mark has that government left on Afghanistan so far?
Well, when the Taliban came to power, billions of dollars of international aid were immediately cut off, and on top of it, financial sanctions were imposed on the country. What we have to remember that this is an economy that had suffered for almost 4 decades of conflict before the Taliban took power. Nearly 85% of the country lives in poverty. According to UN, 4 million Afghans are undernourished, including 3 million children under the age of 5. The Taliban have been trying to restart their economy mainly by increasing local tax collection and also imposing tighter custom tax mechanisms to collect taxes from border trades. On the administrative front, there has been some positives as well. The security situation in the country has improved, mainly because the Taliban, the biggest insurgent group fighting the former government, is now in power. Secondly, the Taliban have also been able to drastically reduce the opium cultivation. According to some estimates, the area cultivated in the last season has reduced by 80% in comparison to when Taliban seized power. But for how long? How long will this last? The population has no real alternative. Employment has exploded in the past 2 years. Afghans are suffering, and they're only surviving mainly thanks to international humanitarian aid.